Okay, I think the room is practically full, so, well, my lucky shot to present something about AI at a conference, which obviously leads to a full room, so happy to have you all here. I see a lot of familiar faces, some new faces. I see people from banks, financial institutions, and see people from corporates as well. So thank you all for joining here. We want to take you through our Treasury digitalization journey, or at least the start of it, I should say. I don't think we're close to done yet. My name is Pim. If I'm not moderating this panel, I am a director within Zanders. I'm responsible for a lot of the Gen AI services that we develop within Zanders for treasurers, but also for financial institutions. And today with me, we have 3 panelists that we asked to join us on stage. All 3 of them having their own special journey. So we have Anna de Souza, Mark van Eersel, and Freek van den Engel. Please give them a warm applause. And just to introduce our panelists before we kick off the discussion. Like I said, they all have their own journey. Like Anna is a Portuguese treasury manager within Remote, but also a global treasury manager, I think also a global person, taking her own journey from Portugal to Switzerland, where she spent the last 7 years, and now back to Portugal again. So welcome, Anna. Then on the other side, we have Mark, treasury specialist within ASML. Mark also had spent some time in Latin America, taking his own journey, enjoying life there, enjoying a lot of food there, learning languages there, I bet, and brought him back here in Veldhoven at ASML. And lastly, we have Freek, starting off in criminology, we just discussed. So I know there's a session about financial crime that you're dying to attend. But at the end, after criminology, you ended up within Treasury through finance, and we have you here now in our home turf, our own Treasury conference. So great to have you here. Now, before we start with the panelists, we would like to start with all of you in the room. We have a little poll prepared for you just to see where we're at as a community within Treasury digitalization. And what we want to get from the poll is just an idea on where you are within the digitalization journey. So on the screen in a while, we'll have a poll that you can fill through the Oplocatie app, to the conference app. And what we want to know is, where are you within that digitalization journey? So we have 4 different answers. Take your time to read through them. I'll just explain them while you're downloading the app, scanning QR codes, or just reading. First of all, we would like to know, have you already identified Gen AI use cases within Treasury specifically? So have you thought of use cases? Do you have a short list already? Do you have an idea what you can do with AI or what you cannot do? How far along are you? Now, the next step for us would be a real exploration. So have you already taken those use cases and have you already experimented with a few of them on a smaller scale, just a proof of concept or something that one team member is using that was a bit tech savvy that they tried out? Or have you already gone to the transformation stage? Have you already found a very good use case that you're implementing now for this entire team, like a proper part of your system landscape that you want to use going forward in Treasury? And I think the last stage for people that are already very far along in the journey, we have our real optimization stage. So do you already have a use case up and running, completely rolled out? Everybody in the team knows how to use it, but you're looking for those small improvements that you can still do to get a better product and more benefits out of your Gen AI solution. So just take some time to think about the poll. There are absolutely no wrong answers, just for us to get an idea on where we're at and what would be most useful for you in this discussion. So now that the room is very full, I am struggling to find the people that can tell me if the poll has been filled or not. There we go. So looking at the answers, we see a nice split. I think over 80%, 88%, well, nicely round number, are still thinking about use cases or experimenting that. We don't see a very large portion of use cases up and running in production. And maybe to start with the panelists there, Anna, if you look at these results, does this surprise you?
Well, not that much. And I can tell you which stage we are at Remote. So we are in the transformation because we have a few use cases. And I'm going to share a little bit about our journey so that maybe it can be useful for you as well. The first time that I explored AI was a few years ago. I wanted to implement AI for cash forecast. So there was a very known company, well, it's still operating. And 6-7 years ago, I had a few conversations with my treasurer. And this ended in a way that was, he told me, yes, Anna, you can implement it, but are you sure about the outcome of this system? And I was not confident enough. So I didn't know if this would work. I didn't know how long it would take. So I stepped back. And during this year, so I joined a spin-off. I joined a startup. We built the Treasury team. And it was only later in 2023, beginning of 2024, that we started again exploring AI. And what changed this time is what I'm going to share with you that maybe can be useful for your cases as well. So we have 3 active AI cases, and 2 of them are directly connected with efficiency. So I always say that from my perspective, AI can produce results in terms of efficiency, of cost saving, which is super appealing. And then the second one is that can go a little bit beyond our human knowledge, in the sense that the amount of resources that we will need to apply will be so big that, well, we have robotics or machine learning that can do it, and I'm particularly referring to the cash forecast case. So in terms of use cases, so what we have is that we have a treasury bot at remote, and this treasury bot is answering questions. We have 2 types, so we have one more general that can produce cash graphs, can answer balances, trends, so all general treasury questions that you may have. And then we have one dedicated to our collections process. So we had before, so the interaction, we all work remotely at remote, as the name indicates. And the interaction was someone asking if a certain customer paid us or no. And why this information was not available before is because it was based on the intraday statement. So only the treasury team or a few finance colleagues have access to this. So we built this question-answer interaction with AI. We have the intraday statements, and then the collection team can go there and ask questions. But then I just want to tell you a little bit about our journey and why this time was so different. First, the right setup or the culture. So this time I have a CEO that is a huge supporter of AI. So he does believe that AI is the future, and he forces the company. So we are exposed to the tools, and he also forced the company to use AI in our products. Finance is a back-end function, of course, so we don't have this imposition, but we are exposed to these cases, right? So the fact that we can see how others are managing their processes is somehow promoting, motivating our teams to try it. And then it's very easy to use. Contrary to the previous solution, we can do it ourselves. So these treasury bots were implemented by the treasury teams, team members, or finance people. We had some help from IT on the integration, because we had to build the integration between our treasury management system and our treasury bot. But besides that, it was done by us. So this user-friendly platform or system technology that can also, so as much as you use, as better as you get. And this was the result of our interaction with the AI. Mm-hmm. So besides these, and again, on this interaction, this is super interesting because humans like to ask, right? So we like the validation of asking the question, even if we know or we think that we know the answer, right? So it happens a little bit with our husbands or wives, right? So they always ask us where the things are stored, even though they live with us for 10, 20 years, right? So this validation that AI is providing us, right? So we ask a question, we get the answer, and it somehow seems that is more trustable than when we search the information. So this was the first part. The second part is motivation. So the first thing that I always mention to my team is that AI will not replace jobs. So AI will enhance human capabilities. And why is important to mention this? Because change, so AI will be a change, right? Change per se is super scary. So if we associate change to a job loss, then no one will want to try it. In fact, last week I attended a Treasury event, and the Microsoft CFO was talking about that. They are using heavily AI, as you can imagine, everywhere in the company. And they had an increase in the head count, not a decrease. And this is aligned with these expectations. So he does believe that head count will increase, even though the AI will be more and more used. And then,
Can I pick you up
yes,
on one thing in the meantime? Because you mentioned that the Treasury bot, and you mentioned different things that drove its success, like user friendliness or the availability of data. What do you think is the one key value driver that allowed you to do this? Because I think it's an amazing use case within Treasury. But what do you think is part of remote that allowed you to do this very quickly?
I think that is connected to the point that I mentioned, that is the culture. So the fact that we are so open to try and to fail and to learn. And the second thing is connected with motivation. So, and why I'm talking about motivation? Because when we set the right goals, we can drive motivation. And for these use cases, our focus was to solve small, simple cases. So this collection problem, in fact, if we think, is not that complex, but even though it was consuming time to my team, and there was a tool that could, we dedicated a few hours to this implementation. There was an integration, of course, that is then leveraged for other purposes. But I think that is really setting the right goals. Yeah. And the last part is confidence. So I think that still today, when I talk about AI, the main reason why people are not using AI is because they don't trust on the results. So there is a few people that shares with me that it gives always funny answers. So they are not getting the trust that they need. And how we build this at Remote, or for this Treasury bot, is the same way that we all do in Treasury, right? So when we implement the system, we always test it, right? There is no implementation without a testing stage. And then within the life cycle of our systems, we always do triangulation, or from time to time we have triangulation of data, right? So in the same way that I ask my team to check how much we have in our bank balances according with the banks versus the MT 940 that we have in our TMS, we also check the accuracy of our answers from time to time. So it's not something that we need to do every week, and I'm not getting mistakes. But you need to find a way to trust on the answers. Otherwise, no one will use it. And I think that this is the key factors that are driving the...
So you're talking less about technology, funnily enough, while we are talking about AI, but more about culture and people and confidence.
Yes.
And I think Remote is also an example of a very entrepreneurial and fast-moving organization.
Yes.
But if we go to ASML, to you, Mark, like how is that within your organization?
So I think within ASML we define 4 pillars of AI and how to make it successful. So you have people, process, data, and technology. well, people, I think that was also discussed in the earlier sessions. It's very important to have the right people. So at this moment within ASML, within finance actually, we're creating a student pool of 20 people even, 20 FTE. So we can start creating agents. And that brings me to the next point, the process. What we're also doing is writing down the different processes of whole finance. So even up until work description level, so very detailed, because you need to know which processes are the best options to apply an AI agent to automate it. The third point is then technology. So within ASML, we're also looking into which software do we need to use to create those agents. So there are a couple of options. This year we started implementing Microsoft Copilot, but Copilot also has a Copilot Studio. And Studio is like the advanced method for that, and there you can create actually agents. So that's one of the contenders, but also Google has one, Vertex. You have Databricks, so we're quite still in the initial phase, but we're looking into choosing the best options for us. And then the last pillar is data. So data, so data is of course garbage in is garbage out. So the data needs to be cleaned up, and otherwise the AI also cannot make anything about it. So one example is that we implemented SAP cash management a couple of years ago. But we also saw that there was a lot of old data in the systems. There was even a PO in Dutch guilders. So that tells you that we should not trust it that much. If a human cannot make anything out of it, then AI even less so. The first step is to clean up the data. And then that's not that difficult, but the more difficult part is then to maintain that the data keeps clean, right? Because Treasury itself is not responsible for the data, but it's more accounts payable team, for example, for invoices. So the big challenge is that that we have to change the process of accounts payable, so they keep the data clean, so we are able to do an accurate cash forecasting for the short term. Another challenge, I think, is if I speak to the data science we have within finance, is to keep up with the trends of AI. So this year it was all about agents. Last year it was about assistants. So it's really fast pacing, and you really have to keep up with it. Otherwise, you lose track of it, and you're already behind. And then the last thing which is really pointing out is privacy and security, of course, because especially for ASML, where we're really keen to keep everything private, with everything that's going on in the world, this is a very big challenge for us. So to give an example, we introduced Copilot, but it took months and it had delayed, because they were doubting what should Copilot have access to SharePoint, to shared drives, to emails. Is that allowed? So that was a big topic. And when it was implemented, it was not even linked to the web. I think last week they gave access finally to the web. So they're very, very cautious with that to keep it open. And so step by step, we're going there. But of course, we're in the beginning stages, so that makes it more difficult.
Yeah. And when you spoke about co-pilots and assistants and agents, I know, Freek, we discussed this before as well, agents. What do you see as the most interesting use case or interesting avenue that we could explore?
Yeah, so at Bolt, I do have to, if I think back to your question there, I think the company as a whole is more in the optimization already. Big tech-focused B2C company. Obvious use cases are customer service, where you see that 85% of all queries can be answered and taken care of by the AI alone. So in that sense, the company, in the broader sense, has already, adopted it in a very deep level and is really just looking at how can we optimize it further. Within, I think, finance and treasury, we're a little bit slower. Maybe that's natural, to be honest. One place we do see it develop now is in our accounts payable, where a new account payable tool we are implementing uses AI, to read invoices and enter all that data automatically. Interact also with the supplier, because the supplier gets access to the system. So there's also an agentic element to it. So that's quite nice. A very cool use case as well, it's not purely treasury related, but it does affect you if you're managing a team, is a hiring tool. So if you look at HR processes, digging through CVs, having interviews, multiple interviews, most of you here in the room have experience with it, I guess. It can be quite cumbersome. So here AI can really help you summarize CVs, take notes during the meeting session, and even link it back into your hiring criteria. So you just have basically a panel that tells you exactly, all right, this is what we talk about, and this is how it links back to my hiring criteria. So there, it's really mostly non-treasury finance related stuff. If I look at treasury specifically, I use it to write Python code. And I'm not a tech guy at all. I'm criminologist. So I use it to write code that is needed for file transformations. So, all I need now is a system sandbox, the AI, and a little bit of time. And I don't need any engineering resources that I previously had to annoy. Hey, can you write me a block of code? Can you do this for me? But now I can just ask AI to do it, and it's in production. So in that way, we are a little bit in transformation stage already. But what's my dream, and that's more exploration still, is is an agentic AI that's linked to our financial ledger, linked to our data warehouse that I can query. Hey, what's my debt equity ratio in these legal entities? What does my cash flow look like in this and this currency? And that's where we're not there yet. And I hope we can learn more from maybe ASML. That's a bit further than us, but I do know we are looking into this. So the dream may be reality in a year or so. So
I think what you mentioned on successful use cases, I mean, we all see use cases outside of treasury and outside of finance, which are very interesting, but it feels like there's something holding us back within treasury. We still need to explore more use cases. So maybe to you, Mark, what are the things that we could learn from other parts? What are the success factors there that we could take into treasury that we should work on?
Yeah, so I think in terms of what makes an AI implementation successful, I think you should look at it the same way you look at just a normal project, right? So you should put on your project management glasses, and then you need an owner, you need a clear goal. If you find a solution, is that solution does it going to solve the problem? For example, we had a successful case a couple of years ago. That one might be known to some of you. We awarded with it at the DACT. It was regarding cash flow forecasting for US dollar for our hedging. But that was already 3 years ago. So I think compared to now, it's a little bit old school technology probably for AI, but it still works. So we're very happy with it. It just runs on a monthly basis. And yeah, also looking at one of the answers, I think with that one we're even in the optimization phase, because this year we saw that the accuracy was increasing of the model. So then we made a proposal, and we went to our CFO to get approval to increase our hedge percentages, because the model was accurate enough. So we increased it. Plus this was for US dollars, and then we increased it also to our Japanese yen. Because that is our second, like we have euros, US dollar, and then Japanese yen is our third biggest outflow for suppliers, so to say. So that was a very good case that we could easily extend to another currency. Plus, you can easily make the calculation, because on the US dollars we even receive 4 points in this market. So that was a very nice thing to do. But for this year, we also had an unsuccessful case. Maybe that's also interesting to tell about. So we wanted to forecast our balance sheet in, for example, ASML Korea. So to forecast our won exposure. So to see what we have to hedge. And together with the data science team within finance, we did investigations about this, and we did multiple rounds. We even included the forecast of shipments, like the shipments that are going to customers for the coming months, to include that, to maybe, for example, better forecast VAT or customs payments in the local currency. But even including that, the model didn't came more accurate than maybe 70%. So then we also said, yeah, this is not going to work, and then we stopped it. But we still learned a lot from that. So I think there are no unsuccessful cases, because even the ones that are not going through, you learn a lot from them, and that makes you that can help you in different cases as well.
Yeah. I think I like what you said, that we really need to approach it as a project, as a separate project team. But I think also the reality that a lot of treasuries or a lot of in-house teams face is that you simply don't have the capacity to do that, right? So maybe to you, Anna, how do you currently deal with that? Do you have the team searching for new use cases or experimenting still?
So I used to say that I'm the outlier in all this, or at least comparing with other colleagues. I think that Frick is more similar to me. So I don't have a data scientist team working for me, data manipulation, data analyst. We do have it remote, and it was very interesting, the cases that you mentioned, because we have so our remote talent is fully AI based. So we do the CVs, posting, searching, matching, the performance review as well. We do it completely with AI already. So in our products, yes, effectively, I have a lot of teams dedicated to make it embedded in our AI in our product. But in Treasury, no, and in finance, no. So what we have is people that are motivated by the topic, that want to explore, and myself as manager, I promote this. This means that is everything that we do in all the things in our life, it requires prioritization. So it doesn't mean that I have room to do this all the time. It means that we find some blind spots where we explore and we try new things. But it's not working as a full project. So we dedicate some time. We have some small wins, and then we move from this point. I also would like to mention, if you allow me, Pim, that I think that this is also a difference between. So it's a strategy that we are following here, right? So. I don't want, or it's not my goal to hire data scientists at the moment and to have it part of my team, but I do have a cash forecast use case with AI that I'm doing with my TMS. So I have a partner that is doing the heavy work for us because it requires a level of expertise. And Mark, you mentioned the cash forecast, because we all have this old vintage problem in Treasury, right? And we all want to solve this problem. And AI seems to be the right answer. And then we all try, and then it's the same. So I think that the main difference here is if you want to build this knowledge in-house, or if you want to hire and to have this in-house, yes, then you can go and treat this as a full project. If you are doing it as myself, as my company, we benchmark, we try small wins, and we are exposed to AI. More than being a data scientist or to be a data scientist, we want to try and to experiment AI.
What's your thought on this, Freek? Because I mean, it's a fundamental decision, it sounds right? If we start hiring data scientists, or we start exploring ourselves or upskilling?
Yeah, I mean, I think people is key. I fully agree. I don't know if you need a data scientist. It depends maybe a bit on your use case. But I think you do need people with the right attitude. And that's also the challenge I see, which is honestly not really new, because Treasury has already been on the trajectory of becoming more and more tech-oriented function anyway. This was the case when we implemented systems, then we had robotic process automation, you know, the software clickers you could have on your screen. Then we had machine learning, and now we speak about AI. It is revolutionary, yes, but it's also more part of a natural ladder that we're on anyway as a function. So I think if you have the right people in your team already that were already capable to deal with those previous challenges, they would be also capable to deal with AI and look at use cases and so on. But one key difference that I think is pretty neat about AI is that if you don't know how to work with AI, just ask the AI how to work with it. If you don't know how to prompt the AI, ask the AI, hey, I want to do this, how should I prompt you? And it will tell you how to do it. So I think in that sense, you now have more tools available to you if you have an eagerness to learn than you might have had in previous tech challenges we had. So that is, I think, quite a neat thing. And then all you need really is the right attitude. So whenever you're hiring, personally, I would look more for that willingness and eagerness to learn, rather than what skills do you already have, because the attitude, I think, is way more important.
Yeah. Okay. And what are some other things, like people in the room that are still exploring or identifying use cases? Maybe for you, Mark, what are some things that people can take home and start doing right away when they get back to the job?
Well, I think you can explore yourself, right? If you of course need the software available. But as an example, what also Freek mentioned, to give an example, for like 5 years ago, we always have an intern at our Treasury department. And so like without AI, from 5 years ago to now, that role also completely changed, because 5 years ago, it was more like recurring activities, doing something manually in SAP or something. But we also, as a Treasury, keep making more use of the systems and more use of the data. So even that part completely changes and is now purely projects-based. So I think in the future, we want the people to be more focused on and indeed not a pure data scientist, but just be tech savvy and be willing to learn about AI. Maybe listen to podcasts. You could do that at home. Read. You have nice books about it. I was at the DACT summer conference, and there was like a nice presentation of an author about who already wrote 2 AI books. So I think those are things to get started with. And also, I'm pretty sure that most of the people using ChatGPT already, right? So I know
Use Mistral though, right?
I would
now that you invested
I would
into
recommend using Mistral indeed. It's European based, right? So we have to be proud of that. But I noticed that when I started using ChatGPT a year ago or something, I didn't trust the answer that much, so I looked it up myself. But now I also noticed that I'm maybe trusting it too much. Because, for example, this week I was looking up something, and then I looked it up on the official website online, and the amount was wrong and the dates were wrong. So I was like, maybe I should take a step back and not trust ChatGPT fully. So also that's maybe a learning point.
I think that it was a trick to make sure that you are attentive, so that you can spot the mistakes. Maybe it's also part of the process, and we need to stay alert.
Yeah, that disclaimer was not there, but it should be.
Yeah. I think we also spoke a lot about systems, how you would use systems or vendors. What do you think there's the role within the broader Treasury community? What should we ask from vendors or partners, like going forward, when we want to make the most use out of AI? Maybe for you, Anna.
So what to ask to vendors? So again, this is always a strategic decision, and while I'm speaking today at Zanders, that is a provider of AI solution, right? So I want to sell. So I think that it really goes to your strategy. So if you prefer to do it in-house, or if you want to outsource this, in my opinion, and in my case, what I do is that I look at the level of resources that I will need. So I share with you the cash forecast case. I will never do it in-house. So I will never say to my Treasury team to dedicate months and months exploring something that maybe it won't work. So in my case, and I didn't share this before, we started the implementation. So we are a pilot customer for our, Kariba is our TMS. We are their pilot customer for the AI solution for cash forecast. It took 1 year to get results, to get accurate forecasts. So it's a very heavy implementation, right? So we need to be conscious about this. I think that everyone should be exposed to AI. Super important to learn and to use it as a little bit, as Frick was mentioning before, as guiding, as supporter. So I do see AI as a co-pilot, not as the pilot, right? So he's making us, so what Mark was saying, that is, and then I was joking, that is making us more efficient, sometimes smarter, but we need all this to be very, to ask the right questions in the same way that we do with our teams, right? So we don't take something as granted, right, immediately. We need to ask, to challenge, and is exactly this critical thinking that maybe the partners can provide as well. And this goes a little bit beyond the partners. What for me is very important in the teams is that people are able to adjust. So if we think about what we study during universities and how it overlaps with what we are doing today, we're going to find a very small portion of common spaces, right? But we all need to adjust, to adapt, and is exactly this that I see with AI, is that if you don't hire people that are willing to change minds and also to challenge what the co-pilot, that in this case will be AI, suggests, then we won't be able to move forward.
Maybe to give you the floor to also be like honest or critical, but do you think that partners or vendors or consultants should also adapt in their offering?
Of course, yes. So I do think that AI will be part of everything that we will do. So everyone somehow we will use it, and we're going to reach a stage that we are using it and we don't even notice. In a very similar way as we drive, you see, so we have some agents supporting us, and we don't even notice how is the interaction. But then is in this part, again, it goes to Mark, and it was very good that you mentioned that, is that if you don't stay alert and you just follow their lead, then you are no longer the pilot. You are the co-pilot. So you need to stay very, very open and to challenge everything. I think that this is the part that is really required. Yeah. Last week, someone in the audience asked, which skills should we teach to our kids in this AI era, right? And I have 2 kids, so for me it was a very deep question. And I think that is a very good question for us to think, is how in this era of the knowledge will be available, right, so easily, how can we make the next generation drive, right, to be successful in this area? Yeah.
I think maybe to end the questions, and we'll open the floor for the audience if you have more questions. What will be interesting to know is, like, when we saw the results of the poll, but also in discussion, we talk a lot about use cases and taking the first steps and understanding the technology. If we fast forward a few years in time, what do you think we will be talking about in this FPC conference, the 3rd edition, when we sit down and talk about AI? What are the things that you think we will discuss? Maybe to start with you, Freek.
Well, I actually attended the AI seminar last week, and according to him, the next step is really the more autonomous intelligence. So, you mentioned the co-pilot, but maybe it'll be a pilot. I think that's something that could happen, but it's an unknown. Yeah. I do think that many of the AI companies are driving towards such a change. It might be replacing your analysts or something like this. I know in the Duck Summer Conference also someone presented saying that, look, this will happen. Personally, I'm a conservative treasurer. I don't know. We'll see when it comes. But I do think that's a trajectory. So let's see.
Okay. What do you think, Mark?
I think this year was about AI agents, right? So what I think will happen in at least the next year is really agent to agent. So yeah, our trajectory is for the people within the company is really what is affected by AI is the analysts. So what we see is that each analyst has like 4 to 5 AI agents working underneath him, so to say. So you're basically a manager of AI agents. But yeah, if you have hundreds of analysts working and so many AI agents, then of course those AI agents are they are being in each other's way. So they are. So you also need AI orchestrators. You need AI managers to manage the AI agents. And I think that's very important to keep efficiency and reliability. And I think that's what people might be forgetting at this stage because it's all new. But yeah, that could be a big thing, that AI agents working together for the coming years.
Okay. Maybe last word for you, Anna.
It's a difficult question, right? So change is always difficult to accept and then to predict what happened, right? So I think that considering the stage that we are, that we will see more AI replacing repetitive tasks, and how this will happen is that we're going to have providers selling these all in one package that companies will buy. So my company uses, we have this culture of trying, of testing, but for the others, I do think that we're going to see more adoption coming from the providers. I think that we're going to see the results of these very deep research projects oriented to the cash forecast, FX hedging, because this started already 1 year, in some cases 2 years ago. So we're going to start see the results, and this, again, we're going to start seeing the partners selling it because they are getting ready for that. I also think that maybe the pilot will be discussed, but I also think that we're going to continue investing in the confidence level. And why? Because the majority of us are conservative treasurers, and we like to test what we are doing. So it's cash, right? So we like to sleep well, right? We don't want risk when we are managing cash. Besides what we have already. So I think that we're going to continue investing a lot on the validation scenarios, on these trust building that we need to do to adopt AI more heavily.
Okay, thank you. Now we have a few minutes left. If there's burning questions from the audience, then please, if you want to stand up or raise your hand, then feel free to ask. We can also jump to lunch if nobody. I see a gentleman at the end. Just to repeat for the camera and the entire room. Suppose you have all the prerequisites already met within your teams. You have the people that have the knowledge to do it. You understand what to do. You have the data ready. You understand that the models are available for your particular use case. But then the next hurdle comes, like you have to select certain technology, a certain implementation, a certain design. And how do you actually make that trade-off right now? Like, who do you approach, or how do you do this? So maybe starting with you, Freek, would you like to comment on that?
Well, I don't think it's much different from any other technology business case. You just have to look at what's the use case, what do you need the model to do. I think there's a trade-off to buying and developing. Buying is maybe quicker, but it might not do what you want it to do. So I think in our case, I would just not be fixed right away. Be open to experiment. I think we spoke about failures. Don't tell your management, but don't be afraid to have this first instance fail. So don't try to overcommit, is what I would say. Try things out, see how they go, evaluate, and be agile. So be ready then to maybe pivot away from your initial strategy. That's what I would do. So because it's so unknown how this will develop in the coming year, 2 years. So stay agile. That's what I would say.
I think especially with the speed that we see AI development, staying agile, I think is a very, very good advice. Anyone else that wants to ask their last burning question? No? Then I would like to thank the panelists with a round of applause, and then we can go to lunch.